many billions of years
Feeling the
old?
burn! Wow, it is so nice having an actual applause to that, because I'm just going like, when I practice this in my room. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin. I am the field organizer for the Sanders campaign here in Raymond. And I'm from Durham. I'm from Durham, New Hampshire, not too far from here. I have really deep roots in New Hampshire. So my dad is from Dover. My mom is from Manchester, from the west side specifically. My grandfather taught at UNH, and my mom is a teacher in Farmington. And I loved growing up here. I couldn't have picked a better place for myself to grow up. And I kind of want to talk about growing up a little bit with you guys today. So growing up can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. And for myself and for my generation, it included learning things like our planet is dying, right? I was in middle school when I first learned about climate change. I learned all about pollution, and I learned all about greenhouse gases and recycling and everything. And I was 12 specifically when I learned that we were hurtling towards a turning point after which our planet was permanently damaged. In high school, I learned all about history. I learned about the way history shaped society, the way it continues to shape society. I learned that people born into different circumstances than myself, whether it's race or class, ability, or anything else, might have to work 5, 10, 100 times harder than I do to achieve the same level of success. I remember learning that one of the best predictors of a person's future income is the zip code into which they were born. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I had summer jobs growing up. I worked at the Kittery Outlets for one. I also worked at a fancy golf club in Stratham, New Hampshire. And I had coworkers there that I learned a lot from. And I learned that they were working multiple jobs and still were struggling to afford rent. And I learned for the first time that there were people that didn't have health care that avoided going to the doctor when they were sick. And I would learn soon that they were far from the only ones. And in my 20s, I learned maybe the most important thing of all, which is that all of these stories are connected. The single mom who's struggling to put food on the table, and a young black man caught in the school-to-prison pipeline, and indigenous folks who are being driven from their native land due to climate disasters are all suffering at the hands of the same system. And this is the system that benefits the wealthy and powerful few at the expense of the rest of us. And it's disgusting. And it was around this time in my 20s when I first heard about Bernie Sanders. Woo! So maybe it was meant to be that it was around that time I was learning all of this, and it was the first time that I had heard a politician who was calling out what I was seeing and who was calling out what I was learning about, and he wasn't afraid to call out specifically the people and groups that were upholding this. Bernie Sanders has been fighting for everyday folks like you and me here in Raymond, New Hampshire for 40 years. And at this point in history, right now, electing Bernie Sanders, who is our champion of Medicare for all, free public college, the Green New Deal, and Green New Deal and criminal justice reform, could not be any more important than it is today. So how do we do it? So that's why I'm talking to you guys today. So the campaign slogan is "Not Me, Us." And that's not just what the whole campaign is about, of course it is, but it's also a roadmap for how we win. This is a movement. This is a grassroots movement, and that means it starts here, and it starts with us. And we win, and we're gonna win New Hampshire, and we're gonna win the White House by knocking on doors, by making calls, by sharing our stories. And that is what I'm here asking all of you for today. Please volunteer with us. We want you. We need you. We're going to elect Bernie Sanders, and we need your help to do it. So thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. And now it is my distinct honor to introduce two men who share this vision, Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield of Ben & Jerry's.
Hello. Very excited to be here. I'm Jerry. This is Ben. For once in our 40-year partnership, I get to go first. This is incredibly exciting. And I might not even give the mic over to Ben. I don't know. As I say, we are tremendously excited to be here, tremendously excited to be scooping ice cream. I do have to give my standard disclaimer that Ben & Jerry's, the company, does not support any political candidates or any political parties, and so they did not give the ice cream. However, I do have to say that Ben and I personally do support political candidates. And we are all in for Bernie. You know, it's interesting. Ben and I have never campaigned for a presidential candidate before. And that's because there's never been anyone like Bernie before. He is completely unique. Ben and I have been constituents of Bernie's for over 30 years in Vermont, starting from when he was first elected mayor of Burlington in 1981. And we have seen firsthand how consistent and unwavering Bernie is in fighting for everyday working people that nobody else has ever done. You know, Bernie understands that our country and our government needs to work for everyday people and not just for the ultra-wealthy and the giant multinational corporations that give hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign contributions and in lobbying. So we're out doing everything we can. We're scooping ice cream. We're on the road. The thing that strikes me so much is that Bernie is not for sale. He's never been for sale. His campaign is fueled by small donations from all of us, and that is how we are going to win. Totally thrilled to be here, and I guess I am going to have to turn the microphone over to Ben. Thank you guys so much.
Well, it was a joy to be scooping ice cream for all of you Bernie supporters. I can't think of a better use of Ben & Jerry, the individuals, than to support a guy like Bernie. You know, it's interesting. You know, Aaron mentioned that Bernie was the first politician that she's found that really supported what she believes in. You know, she's lucky. She's in her 20s. He's also the first politician I've found that supports what I believe in. And I'm in my late 60s. Finally, a reason to vote. You know, before Bernie, Jerry and I used to be the most famous guys from Vermont. And so we are so happy to give that mantle up to Bernie because, you know, ice cream is good, but a presidential candidate who truly believes in justice in all its flavors, that is euphoric. So Jerry mentioned that a big reason that we're here, or really the reason that we're here, is that we witnessed Bernie, his entire political career, from the time he was elected mayor in 1981. And he has been true to his values and beliefs the whole time. And he's been talking about so much of the stuff that's now, generally talked about starting in 1981. So, he has a vision for our country, and it's pretty simple. It's what would our country be like if it was run for the benefit of regular, everyday Americans? So I just want to go through a brief history that illustrates what this man is about. When he first came in as mayor, it was an upset election. He unseated a long-term Democratic old crony machine mayor and won the election by 10 votes. I was there at that victory party, and let me tell you, it was a great party that will surely be exceeded by the victory party we're going to have when we get him elected president of the United States. So he came in as mayor, and the mayor before him had set up a deal with the business developers in town that he was going to sell the lakefront of Burlington to them, and they were going to put up high-rise, very expensive condominiums that would have privatized the entire lakefront of Burlington. And Bernie came in talking about something I had never heard of before, which was the right of public access. And he fought those developers up through the courts in Vermont, and he won. And today, we have the most beautiful public park with a boathouse that's open to the entire city. And then when he was elected congressman, one of his first acts was to take a busload of women with breast cancer over the border into Canada so that they could buy the prescription medications they needed at 1/10 the price. And then when he became elected senator, he voted against the war in Iraq. I guess he actually did that when he was a congressman too. There was a couple of wars there. And then I think just, I don't know, about 6 months ago, he introduced the Stop Bezos Act. And that was stop business executives by zeroing out subsidies. And it was the idea that employees of these huge multinational businesses are being paid so little that they need to get Medicaid and other benefits from the government in order to have a level of living that they could live on. And so the idea was that those businesses would have to reimburse the government for those expenses that were essentially subsidizing the businesses. And a month after he introduced it, Jeff Bezos, the head of Amazon, raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour. You know, when it comes down to it, I know that, and you know, everybody knows, Bernie knows, that the most important thing for any Democrat, and I think a whole lot of independents, is beating Trump, selecting a candidate that can beat Trump. And the reality that we don't, that is not in the general public discourse is that in poll after poll after poll, when they do these head-to-head matchups, Bernie beats Trump. Bernie beats Trump! Bernie beats Trump! Bernie beats Trump! Bernie beats Trump! And I promise that when we get Bernie elected and Jerry and I become the ministers of ice cream, I promise a pint in every freezer, a sundae in every bowl. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the one, the only, the original, and still champion, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Let me thank all of you for coming out. Let me thank Entangled Strings for their music. And Erin Leahy. Oh, there's my jacket. All right. We put this someplace there. Okay. All right. There you go. Let me thank Erin Leahy for the field pitch. And let me thank Ben and Jerry. And I want to thank them not just for the great ice cream that they produce, which we have eaten too much of over the last many years, but for showing what a progressive business can be like. You know, in Vermont, you know, I think you know in New Hampshire, but in Vermont, everybody knows that, you know, Ben and Jerry treats their employees with respect. They have been a staunch ally of our family farmers during very difficult times. They have been a protector of the environment, and they've been out there for virtually every important social justice fight in the last many years. I just want to thank Ben and Jerry for what they do. This is Labor Day, and you know, most of us do barbecues and we have a lot of fun, but it's important to recognize what this day is about. And today, we thank the millions of men and women all over this country who do all the work that they do to help us live good and decent lives. We thank our teachers and our child care workers. We thank our police officers, our firefighters, our EMT folks, and all of the people in healthcare. We thank the factory workers who produce the products that we need, the farmers who grow the food that we need. So there's a lot of people to thank who make our communities great and who keep our country going, and today is a day to honor them. It goes without saying that I'm here in Raymond today to ask for your support to win the Democratic primary here in New Hampshire. And with your help, we're going to do just that. And it goes without saying that I need your help to win the Democratic nomination And it goes without saying that together we are going to defeat the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country, Donald Trump. And as Ben just told you, in poll after poll, in fact, I don't think there has been a credible poll done in the last year which has not had us ahead of Trump. And I think a poll just came out the other day which had us 14 points ahead of Trump. So it is certainly a moment in history when we have got to get rid of that person in the White House. And with your help, that is exactly what we are going to do. But this campaign is more than just about defeating Trump. And what I'm going to need your help on is not just the election. I'm going to need your help the day after we are inaugurated. And we hope to have a lot of buses from New England coming down to Washington. We need your help, and I don't know that there's any other campaign that's going to ask this of you, but we need your help to take on the greed and corruption of the corporate elite who have been at war against the working class of this country for the last 45 years. As all of you know, the message of our campaign is us, not me. And that message is more than a bumper sticker, although I think we will have a bumper sticker with it. It's actually a fairly profound message. And it says two things. It says that our understanding of what human life is about is not one in which we step on our friends and our neighbors and everybody in our community in order to make billions of dollars, that we lie, we cheat, we steal. In other words, somebody like a Donald Trump. That's not our vision of what life is about, to do terrible things, to be selfish and greedy in order to make a huge amount of money. Our vision of human life is that we are in this together, the struggle for decency, the struggle for all of us to have a good life. And that means that my family has got to be concerned about your family, and your family has got to be concerned about my family, and we try to create a society where nobody is left behind. That's what community means. That's what community means, and that is what I believe, and I know most of you believe in. But when we talk about us, not me, there's another point that we're making here, which is a point you're not going to see much on TV or in the newspapers. And that is the understanding that no president of the United States, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone. All right? Because we are taking on a corporate elite that has unbelievable wealth and power and resources. And if we are serious about transforming this country and creating a government and an economy that work for all of us, not just the 1%, the only way we do it is when millions of people come together and are prepared to stand up and fight back, and that is precisely what this campaign is about. So in other words, I could give you a 10-hour speech and tell you all of the wonderful things that I want to do, and you'll nod your head. That's great. Great idea. Beautiful. That's what we need. It doesn't mean anything unless we are prepared to take on the greed and corruption of the corporate elite and the politicians in Washington. And that is what the political revolution is about. It is bringing people together, black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American, gay and straight, those of us born in America, those of us who immigrated to America, standing together to tell the corporate elite that this country belongs to all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors. And on this Labor Day, let us remember a very profound statement. I discovered this, I should have known it before, discovered it just last month. My little grandson, somebody gave him a sign. He held up the sign, and I'm paraphrasing, I probably got it a little bit wrong. It's a quote from Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela said something to the effect, he said, "Everything is impossible until it is done." Everything is impossible until it is done. What does that mean? It means that the ideas that we talk about today, people will say, oh, these are radical, you can't do it, they're extreme, nobody in America wants them, until they get done. And then everybody says, well, it's common sense. Of course we should have done that. What was the problem? All right. And I'll give you just a few examples of what that means, that we're seeing it with our own eyes. 4 years ago, I came to New Hampshire, and I said, I got a radical, crazy, wild idea, my God, that maybe if you work 40 hours a week in Vermont and New Hampshire, maybe you should not be living in poverty, and we should raise the minimum wage to a living wage of $15 an hour. And some of you may recall, oh my God, the editorial writers, everybody says, what, Bernie, what are you talking about? Federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. You want to more than double it. And what are you smoking? And marijuana was not legal at that point. All right, that's another issue. But what happened? We went to Iowa, we came here to New Hampshire, and we thanked the people in New Hampshire for the great support you gave us. But what happened here is all over this country, people said, you know what? The media may think these ideas are crazy. The political establishment may think these ideas are crazy, but I can't make it on 10 or 11 bucks an hour. And we got to raise that minimum wage to 15 bucks an hour. And you know what's happened in the last 4 years? From that crazy and wild and extremist idea, 7 states have voted to raise the minimum wage to 15 bucks an hour. And the U.S. House of Representatives have voted to raise the minimum wage to 15 bucks an hour. And we are going to demand that Mitch McConnell put my bill on the floor so that we can raise the minimum wage. So that idea was not so radical. And here's another idea which is not so radical. And that is that in this country, women should not be making 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. They deserve the whole damn dollar. And here's another idea which is not so radical, is that here on Labor Day, we acknowledge and know that many, many, many millions of American workers want to join unions. But they're finding it very difficult because of all of the opposition, often illegal opposition from their employers. And that is why we are going to pass legislation called the Workplace Democracy Act, which will make it easier for workers to join unions. And then we talk about what's going on in this country. Here is another idea that we talked about 4 years ago that was seemingly, again, off the charts, not acceptable. What I said then and I say now, that for our young people to make it into the middle class, they need a good higher education. And that higher education must be available to all of our people, regardless of their incomes. So 4 years ago, we talked about making public colleges and universities tuition free. And guess what's happening in California and in New York and in Tennessee? They are moving precisely in that direction. And when we are in the White House, we're going to make that happen in every state in this country. And then there's another issue we talked about, and I've taken it a little bit further during this campaign, and that is the insanity, and I use that word advisedly, that we tell our young people, go out, get a college education, and then they're stuck with a $50,000 or $100,000 debt that they're paying off not only year after year, but decade after decade. I meet people who literally tell me that they're worried that their Social Security checks will be garnished. That's true. Their Social Security checks will be garnished in order to make sure that they pay their student debt. And that is why I believe if we could bail out the crooks on Wall Street 11 years ago, if Trump and his friends can give well over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1% and large profitable corporations, such that you have the absurdity now of companies like Amazon making over $10 billion in profits, paying nothing in federal income tax. You know what? The United States government can bend over backwards for the rich and the powerful. We can cancel all student debt in this country. And people say, my critics say, they say, well, Bernie, you know, it's a great idea, but, you know, it's pretty expensive. How are you going to pay for it? And that's a fair question. So I will tell you precisely how we will pay for it. We will impose a modest tax on Wall Street speculation, which more than pays for making public colleges and universities tuition free and canceling all student debt in this country. Now, there's another issue that's out there, which may be the issue most on the minds of the American people. 4 years ago, I came to New Hampshire and I threw out another radical idea. Oh my God, how many radical ideas can we deal with here? And that idea was to simply suggest that maybe the United States of America should do what virtually every other major country on earth does and guarantee health care to all people as a human right, not a privilege. Well, I was told that that was a radical idea, something the American people would not accept. Well, I would urge you to check out all of the polling done in recent months, which shows that a majority of Americans and an overwhelming majority of Democrats believe in a Medicare for all single-payer program. And I want to talk a little bit as to why more and more Americans are moving toward Medicare for all. Because they see every day, as they experience the healthcare system, the dysfunctionality and the barbarity, if you like, of the current system. They see it every day. It's not an abstract idea. Let me give you an idea as to how crazy and absurd this system is. Just picked up the paper today. I flew in from Houston, Texas. And there was an article, I think it was the Washington Post, and it described, once again, we'll talk about this, the terrible, terrible shooting that took place in Odessa, Texas. 5 people at least were killed. And it turns out that one of the police officers who raced to the scene, who put his life on the line, was shot and wounded. And his family has since placed on the internet a GoFundMe request to pay for his medical bills. I mean, talk about insanity. A police officer puts his life on the line to protect people, and now the family is going to have to raise money to pay for the care that he gets. We have a healthcare system today in which we pay, and it's important to know this, we spend twice as much per person on healthcare as do the people of any other industrialized country. We spend close to $11,000 a year, twice what our neighbors up north in Canada are spending. And this is what you get for spending far more than any other country on earth. You got 87 million people who are uninsured or underinsured. And the key word here is underinsured. Because a lot of politicians will say, well, you know, I want to provide insurance to everybody. Insurance doesn't mean a damn thing if it doesn't cover you when you need to be covered. So this is what you got today. And it's not just that police officer in Texas. This is what you got today. You got millions of people who even have insurance, but their deductibles are so high that they can't afford to go to the doctor when they should. And then when they go to the doctor says, why weren't you here 6 months ago when you first got your symptom? And the patient says, well, I didn't have insurance, or I was underinsured, couldn't afford the bill. Many or some of those people will get much, some will die. We lose as a nation 30,000 people a year unnecessarily because they didn't go to the doctor's office when they should. Here is something equally crazy. This is unbelievable. When you stop and you think about it, and what this campaign is about is asking the American people to take a deep breath and think about things in a way that Congress doesn't approach it or the media doesn't approach it. Last year, over 500,000 people in our country went bankrupt because they could not pay their medical bills. Now think, if somebody is diagnosed with cancer, what a shock that is. You're diagnosed with a bad heart, you need major surgery. Somebody in the family has Alzheimer's disease. You're reeling with a serious illness, and you're thinking, your family is thinking, how do we get back on our feet again? How do I get well? What doctor do I go to? What medicine do I take? How do I take care of myself? That is what people are thinking about when they're diagnosed with a serious illness. But in this country, they've got to think about something else. And that is, what happens if I have to go to the hospital for 2 months and I come out with a $100,000 bill? And the answer is that 500,000 people in this country go bankrupt, not because they blew their money on a casino in Las Vegas. They went bankrupt because they had cancer or heart disease or some terrible illness. That is not what a democratic, civilized society is about, and we are going to end that barbarity. But here is the point. Here is the essence of the issue. And that is, we have a healthcare system today, or I should say, a healthcare non-system. What is the function of the healthcare system today? Let me ask you. To make money. Everybody knows that. What is the function of an insurance company? And the drug companies. All right, that's all. Everybody knows that. So here is the story. The story is that with 87 million people uninsured or underinsured, with us spending twice as much as the people of any other developed country, last year, the top 10 drug companies made $69 billion in profit. And they made that profit because they charge us by far the highest prices in the world for the prescription drugs that we need. Last month, I took a trip to Canada with a bunch of folks in the Midwest who are diabetic, and they needed insulin. We went to Windsor, Ontario, and we bought the same exact product in Canada that is sold in the United States for 1/10 the price. 1/10 the price. And the reason that we pay 10 times more than the Canadians for insulin is that not only do you have greed in the American prescription drug industry, the pharmaceutical industry, you have corruption and price fixing. Turns out that 3 companies manufacture 90% of the insulin, and just coincidentally, their prices soar at exactly the same time. That's called corruption. And people die because they can't get the medicine they need. I know in Vermont, and I'm sure here in New Hampshire, you got older people cutting their prescription drugs in half. And then you got the healthcare insurance companies. Top 5 made $23 billion in profit. And they give these guys huge compensation packages. A guy named Bertolini, he was head of Aetna Insurance. He orchestrated the merger of Aetna with CVS, the big drug chain. Do you know what he got? What bonus he got for orchestrating that merger, which will raise your health care costs? Anyone want to guess? More than a lot. He got a $500 million bonus of your health care dollars. All right, and on it goes. You got the heads of the drug companies, the insurance companies making zillions of dollars in compensation every single year. So you add it all together, healthcare industry last year made over $100 billion in profit. And what they will do, and they're doing it right now. I don't know if the ads are on yet in New Hampshire. They're out in Iowa, probably be here soon. And that is they will demonize me personally, and they will attack Medicare for all. And you know why? Because we are challenging their $100 billion in profit. And we are saying that the function of healthcare in a civilized society is to provide quality care to all in a cost-effective way, not to have Wall Street and the insurance companies make billions in profit. So when you see the ads, on TV attacking me or attacking Medicare for all, understand who is paying for those ads. They are very nervous because finally we are challenging their right to rip off the American people while they make billions and billions in profit. Now, what is Medicare for all? What does it mean? And in this, I should tell you that I wish I could tell you I invented this idea. I did not. We stole a lot of it from other countries, often from Canada. And this is what it means. What it means is we are doing away with all premiums in this country. Neither you or your employer is going to have to pay a monthly premium. We are doing away with all co-payments. When you walk into the doctor's office, you're not going to have to pay a co-payment. We are doing away with all out-of-pocket expenses. We are doing away with the fact that when you leave the hospital, you will not have to pay a nickel. Not a radical idea. It's exactly what goes on in Canada. You got a heart transplant in Canada, you leave the hospital, you don't pay a nickel. That should be the case in America today. Now, people say, well, Bernie, that's really nice, very expensive. How are you going to pay for it? We are already paying for it. Every premium you are paying a month, you're paying what, $5,000, $10,000 in premiums. Every out-of-pocket dollar that you are spending, you are paying for it. Every outrageous prescription drug price you are paying for it. By the way, under Medicare for All, our bill, nobody in America will pay more than $200 a year for prescription drugs because we will no longer allow the pharmaceutical industry to charge us anything that they want. So what we do, instead of paying, the insurance companies call it a premium, you can call it a tax, you can call it whatever you want to call it, we're going to get rid of all of that stuff. And what we will do is end up with a situation where Medicare for all is paid for out of the tax base of this country in a progressive way, which will mean that the overwhelming majority of people in this country will be paying far less for health care under Medicare for all than they are paying today. Okay, what I want to do now, there's a lot of other issues out there. I don't want to go on forever. But I wanted to ask, I want to stay on this issue of healthcare. Talk to me about healthcare. Talk to me about whether you can afford healthcare. Talk to me what the impact of premiums and out-of-pocket expenses. Talk to me about folks, well, tell me anything you want. People who may not go to the doctor because they don't have enough money. Let's hear a little bit about the experiences that people here are having with healthcare. I see a hand right over there, ma'am. Can we get her a mic? Do we, No, the woman right here. Right here. Ma'am, just give us your name. Hold that mic close to your mouth.
Sure. I'm Elaine Nethery, and I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I'm here to tell you universal healthcare works in Canada. We do not
Hold that mic close to your mouth. Or turn the mic on.
Yeah. That universal healthcare works in Canada. We don't have to worry when we break a leg or get Alzheimer's, have heart disease, or anything. And we've heard a lot of fear-mongering in Canada. It's absolutely untrue. We have one of the best medical systems in the world. I live in Toronto, one of the safest city in North America, and the 6th safest city in the world. And so I can tell you that...
And you work for the Toronto Chamber of Commerce?
No, I do not. No, I don't. I work for one of the largest colleges in Canada.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
What your first name is?
Elaine.
Elaine, okay. Elaine, somebody you know has a serious illness, they end up in the hospital for a month.
Yes.
How much do they pay when they get out?
0.
Okay.
You pay for parking.
Okay. Now you'll hear, mark my words, I mean, you will hear a lot of attacks, fear-mongering, as Elaine has said, on the Canadian healthcare system. Of course you will. Is it a perfect system? No. No system in the world is perfect. You can always pick apart a system. But at the end of the day, what the Canadians have done, and by the way, people all over the world have done, is to say that healthcare is a human right, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. And that is the goal that we must achieve. All right, I want to talk a little bit more. I want to talk about, we don't talk about this too often. You know, you're a working class person, you're making $40,000, $50,000 a year. What percentage of your income are you paying? You're laughing because that's too high, right? All right, so let's make it down to 30,000. What percentage of your income are you paying? What does it mean to pay for health care in America? Anyone have any thoughts on that? And I know it's hard to get up in front of the TV cameras and talk about it. Anyone want to comment on that? I see a hand right back there. Woman with a baby. Well, here's the mic. Mic's coming. Just give us your name, please.
My name's Caitlin. I'm a teacher, and I'm in a union, and a lot of people have been talking about how it's not fair to give other people health care because unions have fought for health care, which we want everyone to have health care and everyone to have a fair shot. But I do want to say that my employer and I together pay $31K a year for health insurance to the insurance company. So they're...
Say that again.
Yeah.
So how large is your family?
I have 4 people in my family. My percentage, I think, is around $12K, and then the rest is my employer. So together, it's $31,000.
Right. I want everybody to hear what Caitlin just said. She is a teacher, yes? Probably not making millions of years, thank you. And I'm not going to ask you how much you make. We know you make millions. I've read that someplace. Right. You are paying for your health care $12,000 a year. You are paying, okay, which is a pretty good percentage of your total income, yes? Okay, all right, thank you. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Now, you don't hear that discussion on TV too often. How much? Bernie's idea is really expensive. You're paying $12,000. That is pretty damn expensive. You'll pay less, and your employer will pay less. Okay, let's get a little bit more discussion on that issue. Gentlemen, right here, can we get a mic to the... Here it comes, sir. Just hold that mic to your mouth, please.
So I have a question actually about Medicare for All. I studied in Norway for a year. I broke my finger there. It was like a vacation from the hospital in Maine. It was awesome.
Where was that? Norway?
Norway.
Yeah. You didn't pay for it?
Break another finger just to do that. But here, one of the major differences is in Norway, people have confidence in the government. They're not riddled with scandals and corruption.
Yep.
Here, we don't. And so while I trust you and you can go in, how can I trust the other people to support your idea and to not, in the end, take more money from us?
All right, but that's what the struggle is about here. I mean, you say in Norway, and we could talk about what goes on in Scandinavia, you say people in this country, you're right, don't have confidence in their government. Well, it's your government. And what we are trying to do, and what this political revolution is about, and it's not easy, and I don't mean to be overly rhetorical here, we have got to restore confidence in our government because we have got to create a government that works for us and not just for billionaires and wealthy campaign contributors. That's what this whole fight is about. I mean, are we somehow stupider than the people in Canada or the people in the UK or France or Germany? Somehow or another, they manage to run good quality healthcare systems that guarantee healthcare to all people at significantly lower costs per capita than we do. Are we dumber than them? I don't think so. We can do it. We can do it. But we have to have the guts here to take on the healthcare industry, which will tell you everything under the sun about why we can't do it. All right, that's really what this struggle is about. Okay, I see a hand, woman right back there. Let's get to the mic. Yep.
Hi, my name is Emily Levy. I'm 25. I recently got married and I'm an entrepreneur. I went undiagnosed for 7 years with Lyme disease. This is a cost that my parents have paid well over $100,000 out of pocket for. You talk about Medicare for all, but my disease is one of the most common vector-borne diseases in the United States, and it's not covered by insurance past 30 days. What do you plan to do about that?
All right, let's be very clear. I mean, you're just giving me another example of the dysfunctionality and irrationality. Why is Lyme disease covered for 30 days and not 31 days? Please tell me. Do you know why?
There's a lot of controversy within the CDC.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What's the controversy? Are you ill or are you not ill with Lyme's disease?
I am.
So what is the controversy? Do you need treatment or not?
I do, but the government doesn't believe that Lyme should be treated past 28 days of antibiotics.
Well, these are decisions we will leave to doctors, by the way. And one of the issues, I was just actually, as I was flying in today from Texas, the guy next to me was a retired doctor, practiced in Manchester, as a matter of fact. And you know, one of the issues that doctors are sick and tired of is arguing with insurance companies about whether or not they can treat their patients the way they want. And patients are sick and tired of arguing with insurance companies with regard to what they are covering. So to answer your question, look, what we are talking about in Medicare for All is comprehensive, underlined, comprehensive health care that not only covers everybody, it covers all health care needs. By the way, including hearing aids, including dental care, including eyeglasses. We're going to expand what Medicare covers today.
Thank
All
you.
right, other questions? All right, where's our mic here? All right, there's a woman right here in the blue, right here. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for what you do. Regarding the gentleman's remark about health care in Europe, my stepdaughter married somebody in Belgium, and she is raising a family there. And I don't know if you know anything about Belgium, but she taught me that the Belgian government is kind of insane, and the country's splitting apart, and there's all sorts of trouble. She adores, absolutely adores the safety, the freedom that she has with health care. She doesn't worry about changing jobs. She doesn't worry about anything.
All right.
If somebody is sick, it's covered. And the amount of freedom that that gives, it's a freedom that you don't know you don't have. because you just don't have it. When you have it, it's a great release.
What's your first name?
I'm sorry, Senator Teresa.
Teresa. All right, Teresa just made. Thank you, Teresa, for saying what you said better than I say it. All right. And Teresa said it better than I can say it. But what she was saying is, and again, you know, this is not pie in the sky. This is what goes on in Belgium, goes on north of us a few miles. What it means, what Teresa is saying, is that there are millions of people in this country who are staying at their jobs today, not because they like those jobs, but because they get decent health care for their families. All right? Think about what it means. When you have health care, you can do the work you want, and if you're unemployed or if you're in transition, you still have health care because it is a human right. Freedom is the right word. Teresa is saying that's off of your shoulders. You don't have to stay at a job you don't want. When you have a baby, you don't have to worry about paying a $10,000 bill for having a baby. And again, when we do that, when we get rid of the greed of the insurance companies and the drug companies and all of the bureaucracy and the hundreds of billions of dollars in administrative waste in the current system, we can cover all people in an extremely comprehensive way, and it will cost the overwhelming majority of Americans, maybe not the very, very wealthy, but everybody else, much less than they are paying right now. Other thoughts on health care? All right, I see a woman back there, right under the cameras.
Thank you. I'm Chris. I'm a pediatrician, stay-at-home mom right now. For the money that we're paying, we have among the highest infant and maternal mortality rates in the developed world, which is shameful. Seeing the results of those complications. I took care of a child.
Why do you think that you're a pediatrician?
Yeah.
Why do you think, everyone heard what Chris said, and she's absolutely right. Our infant mortality rate, our maternal rate, we lose, especially for African-American women, just unbelievable numbers of people. Why do you think that is?
Multiple factors. I mean, prenatal care is very important, and women should have prenatal care before they become pregnant. And usually women enter care at the earliest when they know they are pregnant and often present even later, despite the fact that women are covered by Medicaid, but they're not covered until they become pregnant. Second piece is that infant mortality and maternal mortality is a multifactorial issue, but socioeconomic factors play a role. Poor dental care plays a role. Life stresses play a role. And all of these are not mitigated by our current system. In addition, other developed nations have home visiting, both prior and after the child is born, for at least 2 years. Though that has been shown to save lives and save children's lives and also result in improved development and improved school performance for kids. In addition, pre-K, mandatory pre-K and 0 to 3 support has been also shown to improve medical outcomes as well as socioeconomic outcomes. And I guess just an anecdote, I took care of a child who was 3 years old, diagnosed with Lyme disease, very early stages, and she would not take the medicine by mouth. And so we wanted to give her an IV medicine over a long weekend like this one. And on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, many years ago, I argued with the insurance company about getting that IV medication for her as standard of care for Lyme disease, and they refused it. And they wanted me to use a by-mouth medication that only had a 50% cure rate for a 3-year-old girl, and I refused to do that. At 5 o'clock, we stopped communicating, my request was refused, and this little girl had to come in for 3 days in a row to get a shot in her leg in order to get that antibiotic, because we couldn't get an IV placed before the long weekend. And it was a fellow physician who refused our request. And they referenced medical literature. Anyway, it was a bad scene.
Chris, let me thank you very much for what you're doing. I mean, we can go on and on about the dysfunctionality of the system. And Chris makes just a very basic and important point. This is the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And yet we have an infant mortality rate, we have maternal death rates that are the highest in the industrialized world, despite spending so much money on healthcare. And by the way, unbelievably and ahistorically, the life expectancy in the United States is actually in decline for 3 years. So in other words, we are spending a fortune for a healthcare system that is not working for working people, while the healthcare industry made $100 billion in profit last year. And what all of this discussion is about is saying that we demand and will have a healthcare system guaranteeing quality, comprehensive healthcare to all at less cost per person once we move to a Medicare for all single-payer program. Let me just touch on a couple of other issues, and then I think if people want, we have time. If people are interested in selfies, we can do some of that. But we got to move pretty quickly, so we got to get to DOPA. Donald Trump tells us that climate change is a hoax. In my view, Donald Trump is a hoax. All right. And, you know, among all of the stupid things that he says every day, I haven't read his latest tweet, which comes from our self-acknowledged genius. But this one is not only dangerous, his belief that climate change is a hoax is not only dangerous, obviously, for our country, but for the entire world. So, as I know that everybody here in this room understands, climate change is not a hoax. It is a very, very significant threat to the well-being of our country and the entire world. And I'm very proud to tell you that just last week, we introduced the most comprehensive climate change legislation ever. The world. We can't do it alone. We've got to work with all of the other countries on Earth, and that's what I intend to do as president. But this is an issue that cannot be swept aside. The scientists are quite clear that if we don't get our act together in the next few years, the damage done to this planet will be irreparable, not able to be repaired. And we have a moral responsibility to leave this planet in a way that is healthy and habitable for our children and our grandchildren. Last point that I want to make, and I'm sorry that I have to make it, and it, you know, being what, you know, given what happened in Texas, and I had to make this point. You know, it was unbelievable. A few weeks ago, I can't remember where I was, California maybe, and we learned about the terrible shooting that took place in El Paso, and I asked people to do a moment of silence, and I could not believe that literally the next day we had to go through that again because of the shooting in Dayton, and now we have another shooting in Odessa, Texas, and on and on and on it goes. And when you talk about the absurdity and the dysfunctionality of Congress, understand that the overwhelming majority of the American people, rural, New Hampshire, Vermont, urban, gun owners, non-gun owners, understand that we need to move forward with common sense gun safety legislation. This is no longer a radical idea. It's not a radical idea. People want to expand background checks. People want to eliminate the gun show loophole. They want to eliminate the so-called straw man provision. And it appears right now that a majority of the American people want to do what I talked about 30 years ago, and that is ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons in this country. All right, let me just thank you all. Let me just conclude by repeating what I said when I started. Obviously, it goes without saying that we have got to defeat Donald Trump. And I'm proud that there was just a poll that came out, I think the other day, a national poll, consistent with us, had us beating Trump by 14 points. All right? But we got to beat Trump. We've got to beat Trump, but we have to do more than beat Trump. I would not be in this race if I did not believe that it was absolutely imperative that we transform our economy, we transform our government, we create a government in which the American people feel part of, feel proud of, and that is something I cannot do alone. We've got to do it together. So today I'm here to ask for your support in the Democratic primary here in New Hampshire. I'm asking for your support to help us defeat Trump and to transform this country. Thank you all very, very much. Okay,
President Bernie!
Okay, where are we going? Is this going to work here?
Yep. Yep, we know.
All right, guys, you have to get in the line. Sorry, the line points that way. Sorry, guys, that's the end of the line. So go that way.
Give me the camera.
Let's do it. That way for the end of the line.
All right, you're going to be first.
That way.
Yep.
That way for the end of the line. That way for the end of the line.
Thank you very much. If you're not in line, I don't have your
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing?
Great.
Together? Hey, wait, the line's turning right there. Go finish from this.
Good to
Okay, right here.
Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next person.
Thank you, Sanders. Line if you want to selfie. That way to the end of the line.
Thank you. Thank you. No autographs? No, we gotta move. Sir, we have to move. No, just a photograph.
No, only do the photographs.
Staff the line. Yep, the back of the line.
No, sir, we don't have time for that, sir. We need.
Okay, let's go. Photographs.
Thank you. Yep. Go there.
Okay, let's go.
This is yours? Okay, great. Yep. Can you get in the line here?
Yep.
Can you, Robert, can you get that? Okay, great.
Why are we here, by the way? Because of the signs?
Just want to shake your hand, Bernie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Why?
They wanted to get you out.
Yep. Hey, how are you? Come on. Shannon, use your common sense. Yep, here we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Hey, how are you? Honor to work with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, how are you?
Keep it moving.
Thanks, sir. Hey, how are you?
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Good job. Good job. Good job.
Thank you so much.
I have about 1,000 questions for you.
All right. Well,
Okay, put on over.
I know, because all of them, I have questions about everything you said.
You what?
I have questions about everything you
Well,
said.
that's fair enough. For instance, Michelle, a supporter of yours.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you. Hey, how are you? Thank you.
Bernie?
Hey, how are you?
I'm one of Tulsi's surrogates, and I'm here volunteering for you today because
Okay.
I genuinely appreciate you.
Well, Tulsi is a good friend.
I love you. Thank you.
Bye, Bernie.
Hey. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Quick question. Maybe you can address women's reproductive health as well. I know. Bring that up. Bring it up. That's great.
Okay, but it's in it. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Hey, Bernie. Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you. Hey, how are you? Good to see you again. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. How are you?
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, the Social Democratic of Germany.
All right. Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
I'm going to email you my question.
Okay. Hey, how are you?
And I can tell you why Lyme has the issues it has.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Trevor, say hello.
Hey, Trevor, how you doing?
The next president.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're my celebrity crush.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello. How's it going?
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Bernie. I have your book. Would you be able to sign it?
Okay, we're going to do it
Okay.
all right. Very quickly.
Thank you. Nice dress. Thank you. And I'm wearing you on my dress.
Oh, my God. It's a Bernie dress, for goodness sakes.
Yes. Thanks so much. I saw you in San Francisco last time.
Okay. Hey. Yep, go ahead. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you so much. How are you?
Senator Sanders, such a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Senator Feeney's chief of staff.
Oh, great.
You're gonna laugh. My dog's name is Bernie. It was a coincidence.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, thank you very much. Hey, how are you?
That dog's name is Bernie. Could you do one for our magazine?
Okay, we got to, okay, I apologize. We got to keep moving. All right. Hello. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. You got William Race for it. How you doing? Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Meteorologist from Boston. Climate can't be an afterthought.
Well,
You're our last chance on that.
thank you.
Santa endorses Bernie. You're on the nice list, too.
Thank you very much.
All righty.
Hello. How are you? Shannon, are we running late? We're on time. Okay. Hello.
Nice to meet you, Senator Sanders. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, good question. Thank you. Don't despair. We can do it.
Yeah.
Get a tip from
Hey.
here.
Okay.
Thank you for your work, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're behind you.
Hello.
That was Senator. She's taking mine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Massachusetts, New Hampshire, borderline.
We got to get you a new shirt.
Thank you.
It's a new year.
I'm going to buy it today. I'm keeping my shirt clean for the parade tomorrow, Bernie.
Okay. I'll see you there. Okay.
Alrighty.
Take care.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Hello. Hey, guys.
So good to meet you, Senator. Get in. Hurry, jump in, quick.
Hi.
brunch with Bernie.
Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. How you doing? I'm great. How are you?
Nice to meet you. I'm Ashley.
Hey, Ashley.
I really hope you get it.
Well, with your help, we will.
Thank you.
Hey!
Hey.
My Canadian friends.
Hey, yes.
Thanks for
Thank you.
that was a great comment. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Bernie, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Senator, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Bernie, how are you? Great.
Thank
Thanks so
you very much. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you? Senator. Hello, young man. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hi.
On this side.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much.
Hi, Bernie.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Get this ready.
Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Hi there.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Senator,
How are you?
Good.
How you doing? Hi. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is a family with a lot of t-shirts.
It is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Good luck.
Hello. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're going to stick it to Moscow, Mitt Romney.
Yes, we will. Thank you. Hey, how are you?
Thank you for running again.
Thanks for listening. Hello, how are you?
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you. Hey, how's it
Pleasure to
going?
meet you, Benny. Medicare works.
Thank you
We're
very
in
much.
Australia and it works there.
Good. Hey, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good, how are you? Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. How are you? Good, how are you?
Pleasure. We love you, Bernie. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. What an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hey, how are you? Thanks very much.
Hi, we've met before. I'm curious about your opinion on the DNC's vote to not have the climate debate.
I think they should. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
My mom is a Canadian citizen. Everything you say makes perfect sense.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Bernie. Thank you. Family support you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Thank you.
Hey, Bernie, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
You got the whole family here,
The
huh?
whole family.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
It's so wonderful to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Can you pick that up?
Hey, how are you? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
How's it going?
Great. Thank you so much. Hey, how's it going?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Senator.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. How you doing? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Would you mind signing the book for us? Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Sorry, no autographs.
Autographs? No autographs. Hey, how's it going? Hey, very nice to meet you. Good. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
so much.
Thank you very much. Hi. Thank you. Thank you.
How are you? Good.
Thank you. Hi, Bernie.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Thank you. And who is this guy?
This is Annie.
Hey, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for what you've done and everything you're going to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I loved your video about being arts president in 2016.
Yep.
That's great.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you. Thanks so much. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Who is this?
Dale.
Dale?
Oh, I'm with them. Yeah. Big group star. And then I'm like, you get brought it up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Come Yusuf, this way.
That way?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you so much for your service.
Very welcome. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, guys, how you doing? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, ready? Hi, Bernie.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I wrote a letter to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Hey,
This is the best birthday present ever.
happy birthday.
It was yesterday, but it's so
All right.
Good luck.
Happy birthday. Hello. How are you?
Good.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Hello.
Oh, so honored. Oh, God. Thank you so much.
Very excited.
Hey, how are you?
Congratulations. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. You mean a great deal to all of us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Oh my goodness. The parents have their hands full, huh?
Stand up, buddy. Stand up, please.
You can do it. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
How you doing?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to see
My
you.
son just converted me to be
Well, you got a smart son.
Good
Thank you very much. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good to see you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Get me some election form when you're here.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here we go, right? Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. You're my favorite rock star, Bernie.
Well, thank you very much. Good luck. Hello.
nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How's it going?
Hey, thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So nice to meet you.
Hello. Thank you.
Oh, wait, we're going to go in together. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, it's just interesting. Once we start talking about healthcare.
Oh my gosh, I could go on and on, but thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. My favorite T-shirt.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, I'll move your left, Bernie.
Good.
Thank you for doing
Thanks so much, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you. You bet. Hey, shake your hand. Yeah. Shake your hand. Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, what is this show? All right, what's the problem? Okay. All right, yep. Okay. Hey, good. Thanks very much. Hey, how are you? Thank you. Thank you. We have to keep them too far. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie.
Hey, well, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
That's it? That's it.
That's it? Okay. What, does this guy want me to sign it? You want me to sign it?
Hey, Bernie, how are you?
Never do it right down.
Good luck.
Wait, just wait.
Thank you, bro.
All right, the guys. Okay. Thank you. Where's the alert? He's already up.
Senator Sanders has an event later today in Dover and makes his first campaign visit to Maine tomorrow, speaking at the Maine Labor Council Labor Day breakfast. He's back in New Hampshire on Tuesday. New Hampshire holds its primary on Tuesday, February 11th.